Welcome to Box Out Banter, where we are less than 10 games away from the playoffs for most teams. I am Chris Okamura. Joining me as always, Mr. Jordan Christmas. How's it going, Jordan?
Like I was saying before we got on to record, I feel fucking fantastic.
this newly Trey Lance super fan.
Yep, it's day one actually. You know, been a long time. No, I'm kidding. I am happy that, and I did this on my other podcast, so I'm not gonna inundate listeners with a bunch of Niner takes here, but I am just happy that my beloved team did not fuck it up. You don't trade that much draft capital to go from number 12 to the third overall pick in the draft to draft Mac Jones. You draft a quarterback with upside, and that's what we did with Trey Lance. And I wavered a little bit, Chris. I'm not going to lie. I wavered a little bit a few days before the draft because I was like, there's no way the Mac Jones reports are real. The Niners don't leak anything. It's usually people who are reporting it are probably, they're sourcing it from executives or whoever they talk around the league with, not within the 49ers. And then the Mac Jones noise just got louder and louder. And then the day of the draft on Thursday, Trey Lance noise started, coming about. And I started to gain a glimmer of hope. But if you could just picture this for a second, I had the TV on. I have a sliding glass door that goes to my backyard. I had the blinds open, and I was just sitting there, or not sitting there, I was standing there staring out the sliding glass door window with my arms crossed with the sound on in the background, looking like a movie villain or some shit. just listening. And I did not hear the name Mac Jones when the pick was announced, and I'm happy. And now, honestly, I am bought into Trey Lance. I would have been fine with Justin Fields or Trey Lance, but I wanted Justin Fields
Lance more than Fields. Too.
Oh, you like Lance more than Fields?
Yeah.
Okay. You see, I wanted Fields just because he was probably a bit more starter ready and more accurate, while also being athletic and a big arm. But Trey Lance is like 10% physically more impressive and more of an upside.
Yeah. So for me, when you think about and this is really. Let me preface this. When we're talking about prospects at this level, we're really nitpicking.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because, so for me, and I don't know if you'll get this reference, but Justin Fields has this hitch in his throwing motion that looks like Vince Young to me. It looks like he cocks back, and it's like a hitch. And to me, anytime I see that kind of hitch, it just reminds me of Vince Young, and I just never liked Vince Young's throwing motion. And so for me, it just rubs me the wrong way when I watch him. It bothers me, and it's such a nitpicky thing where I'm just like, yeah, I take Trey Lance. It just looks cleaner to me. He just looks cleaner as a quarterback. And again, the resume for Fields is incredible. He's still a talented quarterback.
That
but when you're talking
was
about
incredible too.
Yeah, when you're just talking about nitpicky things.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is on another level. I think he's incredible. I think he's absolutely insane. But I think Trey Lance to me has the raw potential to be
the best
better.
Out of this class.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what coach better to try to think you can pull that out of than Kyle Shanahan? I can already see a baseline floor of at least while Lance might not be accurate and his footwork may be off sometimes, I already know Kyle Shanahan is going to scheme people open and leverage Trey Lance's running ability and his arm. Because with Jimmy G, we didn't have the deep sideline throw or the throws beyond the intermediate. So yeah. I'm happy. I'm happy.
And also, this isn't a sob story for Mac Jones. Mac Jones ended up with the perfect coach for his
skill set
style of quarterback.
That's what I was saying. Mac Jones is a good player.
The short intermediate, dink and dunk passing game
throw with
is
anticipation,
his wheelhouse.
Accuracy. That's all Belichick's wheelhouse.
It's incredible. He couldn't have gone to a better place for him.
Yep. But
so again, this isn't an NBA. This isn't an NFL podcast. But
listeners should know your boy is happy.
Yeah. So Jordan's in a good mood.
Can't say the same probably about you lately, though.
It's been rough. So I guess let's dive into the Laker talk real quick. the man, I don't even know where to start. So
well,
obviously,
let's start with the three. Well, let's just start step by step. So you guys are on a 3-game losing streak right now. You guys lost to the Wizards. Well, bad losses. And you guys lost to the Wizards without LeBron. LeBron came back, lost to the fucking Sacramento Kings without De'Aaron Fox or Harrison Barnes. Probably definitely the two Kings' best 2 players. And, of course, you throw in Halliburton in there. But you guys lost to the Kings. And then you guys lose to the Raptors, who I don't even know if they're tanking or not anymore. They sit players, then they play Kyle Lowry and Siakam, and then they both went off against you guys yesterday. But let's just start with let's just give you the floor. Like, what is Anthony Davis? Is Anthony Davis? I know he's not playing defense right now, but is he playing not to get hurt? Like, did LeBron come back too soon? It's getting you're cutting it close. It's almost playoffs.
It looks to me. This reminds me so much of the 2010-2011 season, where, if you remember that season, the Lakers coming off 3 straight finals runs. They won the last 2.
Oh,
right?
Yep, yeah.
And then that last season, you would get that championship level in stretches, but like everyone was just waiting for them to turn it on in the playoffs. Because like that's what championship teams do, right? They turn it on in the playoffs. That's like what is expected of championship teams. And then it just never happened. And then that's the year they got blown up by the Mavericks. And then that's when Bynum body slammed JJ Barea.
Elbowed him right in the rib cage midair.
Yeah. So like, to me, it feels so much like that season, but it also at the same time feels like the beginning of the bubble. Because the Lakers looked like this at the beginning of the bubble.
Yes, yeah.
Those first 8 games. And it looked like the Lakers were just trying to play themselves into shape. And then they turn it on in the playoffs. So like, to me, it's so up in the air. The only thing that I can think of is like, because I don't know if you've watched any of these games. There's quarters where they look unstoppable.
Yeah.
There's quarters where like LeBron's throwing dimes and Anthony Davis is cutting the basket and they're playing lockdown D and they're locking people up.
Like, this is the Lakers team we all
You're
had.
like, yeah, here we go. And then all of a sudden, then they go to halftime and you're like, they have a shitty first quarter. They're like, so Lakers are always slow starters. You've watched enough Laker games where they go down 10 every game.
Yep.
So then second quarter, they do this amazing thing. They turn it around, they tie the game up, or they close the gap, and you're like, great. Second half, easy win. If they keep playing like this, easy. And then they just come out like garbage the second half. And then it's the kind of thing where you go, well, what are they? Are they saving their energy? Are they scared of getting hurt? Or like whatever, what's going on? And are they going to be able to turn it on? Or is this just who they are? And it's such an interesting thing to look at where like LeBron, I don't know if you heard the post-game comments from last night. It's the one where LeBron said the plan was trash, but there's a lot of comments around that.
Whoever came up with that shit needs to be fired.
Yeah, which I have thoughts about, but we can talk about that later. But like Kuzma brought up the idea that he feels like Gasol should be playing more, which is completely
I agree with.
100% agree with.
100%. Over Andre Drummond? Fuck yeah. Like, I was going to ask you about Coach Vogel's rotations, because it seems like Wes Matthews is in and out of the lineup. He's been DMP'd, I think, 5 out of the last 6 games. Marc Gasol's riding the pine for Andre Drummond, who I know LeBron.
To me, it comes down to a thing where I think Vogel has too many toys.
Yeah,
and you kind of
buyout kind of gave them one too many too.
Yeah, like they just have too many toys, and like I love Talen Horton-Tucker. I think he's great. I think he's going to be really good as he develops, and I think he's worth keeping, especially given like that we. I don't think like everyone when this stuff happens, it always goes to the thing of like, well, we should have traded everyone for Kyle Lowry, and it's like Kyle Lowry does not fix all of these problems.
Yeah,
these are like separate issues from Kyle Lowry. So, like, to me, I think THT is a great piece. I think he's important. I don't know if I would
prospect that I wouldn't trust in a playoff rotation yet.
I wouldn't trust him over Wesley Matthews here. Like, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yep. And again, Vogel did say, like, yeah, he said last night, we're not trying to test things out. We're trying to win games, which I don't believe. Because just looking at the way the minutes are spread out, too, like, he's not.
It wouldn't make sense based on his rotations.
Yeah, and so look, I don't know. Vogel showed last year in the playoffs that he's willing to tighten up his rotations and really make huge changes in the playoffs for series, like for different series.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so and he was great at it. And so I have faith in him to be able to do that. And
Vogel's always been a good coach.
Yeah,
like, he always has been. So I don't doubt that.
I don't doubt that at all. I trust him that way. Again, from what I'm seeing now, though, there is some cause for worry. They don't want to be in the plan, but our last games, right? Like looking at our last 8 games, Nuggets, Clippers, Blazers, Suns, Knicks, Rockets, Pacers, Pelicans. Those last 3 games are easily winnable, but the first 5.
How about the Knicks being a part of that gauntlet now?
Yeah, because those are tough games, and the thing is that all of these teams are still playing for seeding.
Yep.
These aren't like gimme games.
Yeah, because the Nuggets are still 3. The Nuggets have been incredible since Murray's injury, and
very odd.
And I think Jokic has sealed up the MVP at this point. But the Nuggets are 3 games behind the number 1 seed. The Clippers are also in the mix. Like, there is still games to be played, so it's not like the Lakers are getting the back end of a normal April regular season game here. Like, this is gonna be a tough stretch for you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm just, we all year, I kind of feel this way with Brooklyn too, but we're just waiting for them to coalesce. Well, and the Lakers, we were kind of waiting for them to kind of, not snap out of the coasting, because I know they had to make it to the playoffs, but like I figured by the end of the year they were going to get the number 1 seed if everybody stayed healthy. But then obviously that didn't happen, and then we're like, okay, let's give the Lakers like a week and a half, 2 weeks when AD and LeBron come back, and it has not looked good. Like, and I'm starting to wonder, like, when does that benefit of the doubt go away? I don't know if the benefit of the doubt will ever go away for LeBron, but what about the other guys on the roster? And still figuring out, like, what's your guys' best closing lineup? How many DMPs will Harrell get in the playoffs if you guys make it out of the play? No, I'm kidding. But what about, even, and here I was going to say something about Drummond earlier, but I know LeBron will definitely pull some stuff out of Drummond that he hasn't necessarily done before on any other team context, but he's still not a good player, like a winning player. Like, he hardly tries on defense. Drummond's one of those frustrating players where it's like, oh, if the motor runs high, it's good. Okay, he had the motor ran high for 1 year and he made the All-Star team, and then for like a month in Cleveland. And then aside from that, it's been, I wouldn't say empty calorie rebounds, because I don't want to sound like one of those guys, but he's not a winning player and he doesn't produce in a winning context, and he should not be playing over Marc Gasol. And I know it's funny. I follow a good amount of people who are tapped into Lakers Twitter. It seems like there's a civil war among your fan base over Marc Gasol, because they just see, oh, Marc Gasol averages like 3 points a game and he's long in the tooth. Marc Gasol is in the right place as always. Defensively, yeah. He is a good passer from the high post. I mean, where was the stuff early in the season when Marc Gasol was hitting LeBron for backdoors and stuff like that? And he's a cleaner fit with Anthony Davis, although you ideally want to have Anthony Davis at the 5 at the end of the day when you're closing lineups in the playoffs. But Marc Gasol should absolutely be playing over Drummond. Because the whole clutch thing and all that stuff.
The thing that we'll say about Drummond is, I don't necessarily there's some clips going around especially from the game last night, where Drummond is in the right spot. It's just a lack of effort from Anthony Davis and LeBron that like leaves him out to dry.
Oh yeah, they're not absolved from this either.
And like there's a lot going on with them where I kind of watch and go, man, I don't know where they're standing, or like where. Like, obviously, I give them a little leeway because of the injuries and because of everything that's been going on. But at the same time, like, man, I don't know quite what's happening with us defensively. And so someone brought up a good point, and I honestly think this is true. If LeBron and AD don't play these last 3 games, I think we win them.
You think you have a better shot at winning them?
No, like these last 3 games that we lost, I think we win these games if LeBron AD just didn't play.
Yeah, because from a like a familiarity and chemistry standpoint, like being used to not playing without those guys for a bit, and I could definitely see why you would say that. I just think, well, obviously, I mean, you know this, but LeBron and Anthony Davis need to whip it into shape before the playoffs.
Yeah, it's important for them to play. I'm not arguing that they shouldn't have played. I'm just saying, like, if they didn't play, we would have won.
Yeah,
like these are very
all winnable games. Like, there's no way you should have lost to the Kings without the players that I mentioned they were missing.
Obviously, there's no easy game in the NBA, but these are as gimme games as you can get for a team as high caliber as the Lakers. This is as gimme wins as you can get.
I don't think the Wizards are as much of a gimme win because they've been on fire lately, and Russell Westbrook has been a beast again for a month and a half at least. But
totally
fair.
You're
right. It just seemed like there was it's a dumb fan thing to think, but I think because Ryan Russillo actually kind of brought up this point last night on the BS podcast, and I love it when those two are on, even though I disagree with half the stuff they say. But the point of, okay, LeBron and Anthony Davis are out, and the Lakers, they still have this standard. They still have this, prerequisite of play that they like to see. And it seemed like they were living up to that. And they were playing way better than I thought they would without LeBron and Anthony Davis. I think they went basically 500. So, and, they were getting good play out of all those guys stepping up and, trying to fill in. And so I definitely see why. They definitely see your point. They definitely would have had, at least on those particular nights, a better shot at winning. But it's looking rough. It's looking rough. And if the Lakers fall into the play-in, and then what if the Lakers and the Clippers play in the first round? Like, ooh, man, I'm telling you, this play-in has made things interesting. I'm not gonna lie. Even though your boy and Luka Doncic, and Mark Cuban, all of a sudden, when they're in it, the play-in's not cool anymore.
Yeah, this is something I wanted to bring up, and I don't know how you feel about it. I hate when you complain about something or you don't complain about something and you're all for it until it affects you.
Yep.
And then you're like,
totally with you.
And it's like, dude, come on. You voted for it. Everyone liked it. I think even LeBron earlier in the season was like kind of for it. And then now that we're in it, he's like, yeah, this is fucking bullshit. And it's like, come on, dude.
Whoever came up with that shit needs to be fired. That was an actual quote. And it's like I texted my friend yesterday, I DM'd my friend on Twitter. I sent him that quote that LeBron said, and I was like, just a lame-o. Like, that's a lame-o statement to say. Like, and I said that with Luka too, like, and Mark Cuban. Like, first of all, the owners voted on this shit, and then the players agreed to this shit. And I know there's probably that's not to say there probably wasn't hand-wringing on either side from some people or whatever, but for the most part, we all knew the rules going in. We all knew the Lakers were going to be the favorite. But now that they are all of a sudden losing and they're in a three-way tie with the Mavs and the Blazers for that 7th seed, which is the first play-in spot, it all of a sudden it's not cool anymore. Like, come on, that's weak. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to do that hot takey sports radio thing, but that's weak, my dude.
Yeah, I'm pretty salty. Not salty. I'm just like kind of like, this is some bullshit.
But I mean, so what do you foresee the next few weeks then? Because Anthony Davis, like I said, it just looks like some of it, I think he's not playing defense just effort-wise, but also I think some of it is he's playing not to get injured. I mean, he basically
he said that a lot of it is not injured because he's not jumping.
Yeah,
like he's just not jumping.
Yeah, he's not. As the movements just aren't the same. And I think he said before he came back for the first game, he said he heard a tear and he had never felt that in his life, and that's scary considering that that's in the Achilles area. So it's
100% that's scary.
I don't blame him at all, but also like the Lakers are kind of in this disadvantageous position where they have to avoid the play-in, but LeBron and Anthony Davis are still clearly trying to come back. LeBron's out tonight with a sore ankle, as ESPN is doing this. I'm gonna watch a few quarters of it and see how it is. But like the whole Marvel thing, I don't.
I'm pretty excited.
You're excited.
I'm pretty excited because I'm a Marvel fan. I like it.
I am too. I'm a nerd, but I don't know about this. So well, I guess I should enjoy it because I do like mixing my nerd shit in basketball into my YouTube videos. But I don't know. It just, the concept seems weird, but I'm going to check it out, before I do the old man shit.
Yeah.
But I'll check it out.
Yeah. To me, it's just a thing of, hey, if you're an NBA, because there's a regular broadcast too. So, hey, if you're a regular fan.
And ESPN is Disney.
Just watch the regular broadcast. And then, hey, if you're a casual fan, but you like Marvel, cool. Here's this new kind of cool thing they're doing, this fun thing. And hey, you never know what kind of new fans it's going to bring in. And I think it's a fun test and experiment to try, right?
I guess I'm just not ready for the 1,000 mentions on the broadcast of comparing Zion to Thanos, the low hanging fruit stuff.
Yeah.
Steph Curry, Captain America, or no, Hawkeye actually.
Yeah, Hawkeye's perfect. Oh my goodness, that's great.
Maybe we should do what The Jump did earlier today. They had a Jason Concepcion on, noted host of Binge Watch when he was with The Ringer, but now he does all caps NBA for Crooked Media. He was on The Jump, and him and Rachel Nichols did a all NBA team of Marvel characters. Maybe we should do that actually, one of these days.
Yeah, I'm down.
I'd be down. We could do one of Marvel characters and/or anime characters, whichever one.
I'm in.
Speaking of powerhouses, did you catch the Bucks Nets game yesterday?
No, I did not.
Oh man, you missed a really good game. Like, you missed a playoff level game. Like, and also I learned a bit more about the Bucks. I said earlier in the year that I'm not scared of the Bucks. I wanted to see if their experimentation during the regular season would work. I wanted to see if Mike Budenholzer was willing to evolve. He's evolved in some areas, but he's still very terrible in a few others, like, who to close out with, rotations. But he is trying more switching and all that stuff. I have to say, I think the Bucks are, well, I said this a few weeks ago, but I have been feeling that the Bucks are just square right in the middle with the Sixers and the Nets for the coming out of the East. And I think for a few reasons. One, I think people underestimate, because everybody wants to talk about, what will happen when Giannis faces a team that can build a wall around the rim. And, that's a fair point. But the only two teams in the East with that had that kind of personnel to do that were the Raptors and the Heat. And then, the Heat lost some key elite wings. You basically have to have a stable of elite wings, which is what the Heat and Raptors had. So those two teams are out. So now the Nets, they showed yesterday that they cannot, will not, and do not have an answer for Giannis. Whether it be single coverage, I think even if they change their coverage in the playoffs, they won't have an answer for Giannis, nor do they have the personnel to build a wall, because they have a bunch of skinny wings and they're too small for that, and not strong enough for that. And really, the Sixers, the only coverage they can throw is, we're going to put Embiid on Giannis, which I feel pretty good about, but Giannis has also won his battles with Embiid in those type of coverages in other games in the past. And then another reason is, I have to give credit to Giannis. He's really improved as a basketball player. He's become a better passer than he was already, like a average, some nights good passer, but I think he's just a good passer. He knows how to, instead, I have seen a lot more this year, in the past, where he would try to drive into two or three people, and, it would work in the regular season, but he would still get stonewalled sometimes. A lot of those drives now are manipulative, and he'll go up, three dudes will collapse on him, and he'll kick it out to the opposite corner or the, next man open. He's obviously more comfortable taking the mid-ranger this year. Now, obviously, yesterday was a special case. I think teams are still going to live with him shooting a mid-ranger, but he has a spot now, it seems like, with the mid-range, and he has a go-to hook move in the post. He's added a few things that I think that can counter defenses. And also, the simple fact, Drew Holiday is one of the best players in the NBA, point blank, period. I think he's one of the best two-way guards. I think he's the best perimeter guard defender in the NBA at the guard position, and he can guard 1 through 3, clearly 1 through 3, even as a guard. And Chris Middleton is a top 20 player. Like, he's really good. Like, he's a 50, 40, 90 guy, and he can play really good defense, and their defense has been coming around. So I like the Bucks, man. Well, I want to see.
Do you like them more than the Nets or the Sixers?
I have to say, I think in a series with the Sixers, it could go. I think that's a coin toss. But against the Nets, I mean, you know my feelings on the Nets. I think the Nets are still the favorite, but I would pick the Nets in the series. But I think that series is a lot closer than people will think, just because of the Nets' defensive personnel. And I do think the Bucks' big three is a legitimate big three. Like, not that I never thought that. I just wanted to see how their evolution was throughout the season, and I'm impressed.
Okay.
What Fair say enough. You?
No, I totally agree. I think my only concern is always, like, playoffs come and the game slows down. Is Giannis's full power and his full potential still comes in the fast break game,
mm-hmm.
and so much of what they do, it is predicated around Giannis in that full court and getting out and running. I don't know if in a series, if I trust their half court offense enough or more than I do the Nets or the Sixers.
That's fair. I do think their half court offense has gotten better, but yeah, you're right. If I had to rank the half court options in a half court offense for the playoff teams, I would obviously you would go the Nets because of those three guys.
They can just give the ball to anyone.
They could literally give the ball to anyone. I think the Sixers, because they have Joel Embiid, he can. I think with the face-up game that Joel Embiid has added and the fact that he's shooting like Dirk from mid-range now, I think that opens up so much, because the question is, can a back-to-the-basket center, be a half-court option in the playoffs, or a consistent, viable one? Well, he can do that, but he can also face up and blow by, whoever's guarding him. Triple teams, you can't stop him either. But the question is, can, outside of the Celtics, which Chris Middleton kills in the playoffs all the time, can Chris Middleton do it consistently in the half court? Can Drew Holiday do it consistently in the half court? And I think they've shown so far this year that they can. Now we'll see in the playoffs, obviously. And I also think, like I mentioned earlier, I think they have a few more counters to run in the half court this year, just because Drew Holiday isn't Eric Bledsoe, right? But the half court offense, that's a fair concern. I still have my concerns about it too, and Mike Budenholzer, because I'm telling, if you go to Bucks Twitter during games, man, they kill Bud, man. And I'm someone who used to be high on Bud, but came off of him the last few years just because it's like, my man's, you can't play Giannis 33 minutes in a playoff game and think it's the normal he's like, oh, I'm just sticking with my normal rotation. Like, nah, dog. Like, what? You got to be playing your stars. And, we'll see. We'll see if they learn. But I think they're smack dab. I think they're right there with, if I had to put the Nets 1A, then probably the Sixers and the Bucks are right there between them, I have to say.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that, to me, it also comes down to Bud's adjustments. I don't know if regular season, I don't see him making adjustments, and so in the playoffs, I see him just getting out coached all the time.
Yeah, that is one of my fears.
So again, I just have more concerns with the Bucks than any other team here.
Mm-hmm.
When we're talking about the favorites,
yeah, right.
I don't put them there.
It's almost like with the draft prospects that we were talking earlier. Like it's nitpicky at this point.
We're nitpicking at this point, but yeah, it is sort of concerning.
But I think it's one of those things now where like if the Bucks made it to the NBA Finals, I wouldn't be surprised. You know,
like I think I would still be surprised.
And I see some pathways for the Bucks at least. I would be shocked in the sense that okay, maybe the Nets didn't pull it together, but if either of these teams, Philly, Brooklyn, or the Bucks, got out of the East, I wouldn't be shocked. Shocking would be like if the Jazz made it to the finals.
Yeah,
I couldn't help myself there. I'm sorry.
If Utah makes the finals, I'll shit my pants.
It'll be a very stinky podcast because I will too. Oh, okay. Here's another question I wanted to ask you, because I think we've sung our praises about the Suns on this podcast. We were bullish on the Suns. You were probably you dove in a little bit deeper into the deep end than I did when you said the Suns could be in the Western Conference Finals. I wish I had not chickened out and dove in further with you on that. But the MVP discussion is very interesting because
it's Jokic, there's no question.
It's Jokic, but like basically what I'm asking is because there are people who seem to think that Chris Paul should be the MVP, and so it sounds like we're going to be on the same page here. Then it's Jokic.
So this is the thing with the Chris Paul argument. I have a hard time. I understand Chris Paul's importance. I really do. And me and you both love Chris Paul. It's why we jumped on the Suns and we love the Suns so much. But I have a hard time because there's a difference between the best player on a team and the most important player on a team. And for me, it's hard to give someone the MVP when they are not the best player on their team.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Because to me, it's still... I think it's
Booker.
It's Booker. But I think in some ways you could say Chris Paul too, just because he's... Him and Booker have both been clutch. But
more important. But I think Booker's the best player.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, the team itself is incredible. Like...
Yeah.
Cam Johnson has been playing well off the bench. Jay Crowder. Mikal Bridges is going to get fucking paid this summer like a madman.
Yes.
DeAndre Ayton has realized that he's not going to be the 20-10 guy. I'm going to be the 15-10 guy and be the anchor of a defense. And he's been playing really well. Like, that whole Suns team as a cohesive unit. I think Chris Paul, is, like you said, he's the most important player. He's the guy who brought everyone together. Like I made this joke a bunch of times already, but the rug and the Big Lebowski just brings the entire team together.
Yeah.
But Jokic is the MVP, dog. Like, let's just... Like, I know Kendrick Perkins earlier today was mad because everybody was saying, like, oh, it's clear now, it's clear. And Perk got mad because everybody was saying that Jokic is the clear MVP. He's the clear MVP. And yes, Sixer fans, I know it kills me too that Joel Embiid missing games robbed him of the MVP, because I thought Joel Embiid was the MVP before he went down. But dude, it's not just the durability. It's the fact that Jokic is having a transcendent offensive season. Like, the fact that they are 9-1 since Murray's injury, I don't know how any more clear you could get than that in terms of, an MVP case. In the game since Murray has been gone, since the Golden State game, he's played 10 games, 9-1. Jokic is still averaging 26.6 points per game, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, 58% shooting from the field, and 38% from three, and 88% from the foul line at nearly 7 attempts per game. The guy is a monster. Like, he's an absolute monster. And it's not just like, oh, he's the best passing big in NBA history. He might be one of the best passers, like, ever when it's all said and done by the end of his career. Because I think he's claimed the best passing big title pretty easily.
Yeah. I think but for me, it was a toss-up between him and Walton for a while. But I think it's pretty much done.
Yeah, because Jokic has been a point center for the last
Yeah.
3 years now, basically since the Nurkic trade.
I'm of the belief that if Walton played today, he would be. But given production and what they're actually able to do, you'd have to give it to Jokic.
Well, Walton is the only guy to win an MVP with playing 59 games. Like that was theoretically Joel Embiid's pathway, right? Or there was the precedent if he were to still be in the conversation. It was like, well, look at Bill Walton. But
I do want to talk about this. I do want to bring this up while we're on the topic. I feel like Bill Walton gets a lot of slander and a lot of like lack of respect just because a lot of people didn't see him play, and he had a very short prime of his career. And he's and he's an analyst that is eccentric.
I love Bill Walton.
Yeah, well, like people, he's polarizing. Some people hate Bill Walton, but like I think we sell Bill Walton short just given his injury troubles and like his kind of the way his career went.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bill Walton is one of the greatest players of all time, and showed it and proved it in only like 3 years.
Yeah, that 2-year run specifically with the Blazers was that's like when a star in space is like shining really brightly and then it just fizzles out because it's shining too bright.
Yeah.
Compared to the other stars and all that. And that's what Bill Walton was. He had such a peak that was supernova. And then unfortunately back then we didn't have the medical advancements and research on foot injuries, especially foot injuries on 7-footers. That's why Ralph Sampson's career, he had like really 4
another
years.
One.
Who?
Yeah, Sampson was another one.
Yeah, Sampson. There's a few others too, but just we didn't have that much information back then on how to deal with lower extremity injuries on big guys, and it sucks because Walton was an incredible passer. I don't want to forget Arvydas Sabonis, but nobody saw Arvydas Sabonis until he came over when he was like 35 years old in Portland. Like nobody.
Yeah, I can only imagine young Sabonis what he was like. But
USSR Sabonis on the national team. Yeah,
but like you could see Walton's passing even when he was in Boston.
Yeah, like when he was a sixth man.
Just imagine that younger and more athletic, and he could score and play defense and like do everything else, but he had that same level of passing ability. And so, like to me, when you just take players like that and you put them in today's game, I think Walton could be Jokic today. If like prime Walton could have been Jokic today, but again, given what Jokic is doing now, you have to say it's Jokic.
Yeah, and like I said, the Nuggets are 3 games in back of the now number 1 seeded Phoenix Suns. By the way. I forgot to mention that. Even though the Suns and the Jazz are tied in record, the Suns have the tiebreaker. The Nuggets are 3 games back. And like you said, there are plenty of games left still, even, right before the play-in. So if the Suns and the Jazz stumble here and there and the Nuggets keep winning and Jokic keeps Jokicing everywhere, then the Nuggets could be the number 1 seed. And then he'll really solidify the MVP. But I think it's at this point, probably last week I came around to it, but I'm definitely now at the it's not a debate stage of the MVP, and I think I clearly think it's Jokic. Sorry, Chris Paul. We love Chris Paul. I thought he should have been the MVP in 2008 over Kobe, personally. I thought Kobe won MVP in the wrong year. Probably should have won it over Steve Nash, although I do think people blindly say that Steve Nash wrongly won back-to-back MVPs without ever going back and looking at the context and the stats and all that stuff. Nash was deserving. But
yeah, Nash was deserving of one of them, but Kobe had one. I think this 06 was Kobe's year.
06.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was Kobe's strongest case, yeah. I thought Chris Paul should have won it in 08, but look, I'm not taking anything away from Chris Paul. The fact that he is a small guard doing this at age, 35? That's an anomaly, dude. Like, and wherever he goes, the team wins. Oklahoma City stinks. Well, especially since Shai Gilgeous-Alexander went down. They stink. And, when he was on the Thunder, they were winning. He left, they stink. The Suns, although I thought they were talented last year, and the Ayton suspension really derailed their season kind of in a lot of ways that I think people don't talk about. They weren't a good team, and Chris Paul comes there, brings instant credibility to the team.
Well, to be fair, I think Chris Paul is the perfect person to bring in. First of all, if you want to set it up, I do think the Suns were trending up, and I think the Suns they just needed a leader and like a veteran presence, which they tried to fill with Ricky Rubio, which is not the right person. But I think if you just give them some kind of
right idea, wrong player type of player.
Yeah. Like I think if you bring in like he's retired, but like a Derek Fisher or like just a veteran leader. Like if you gave them Rondo, I think that works.
Not as well as Chris Paul.
No, but I don't think they're first in the. I don't think they're first in the West.
They're a playoff team. I think they're like
a playoff team and trending upwards. With
because like you said, they were trending upwards last year. I can't let you slip with that Derek Fisher comment. I'm sorry, Derek Fisher can't. I'm sorry, like. Even when Derek Fisher went to the Young Thunder, he didn't even help that much, and he shouldn't have been.
And I don't mean in terms of play. I mean in terms of like kind of the veteran presence.
The veteran presence, the know-how, how to work every day, and all that stuff. They got all that mixed in one with CP3, who is still a top 15 player some fucking how. Chris Paul's gonna make an All-NBA team this year again.
Do you remember when the Rockets signed him to that big deal? And all of us, me included,
included. We killed everyone killed that deal. Everyone, and even Suns fans now. Back then, they killed that deal. Everybody killed that deal. It was like, what are you doing? You're giving a max contract to a 32-year-old point guard. And Chris Paul has been absolutely worth the max. Like, what the fuck?
It's pretty insane to think about.
Like, we talk about LeBron and his durability and longevity, which is incredible. Karl Malone was also a notable durable person, Michael Jordan or whatever. Chris Paul is special in his own right because small guards typically don't age well at all. Just look at past examples. One I witnessed myself, Allen Iverson.
Well,
small guards don't age well. And
we brought this up before, and we brought this up a couple times actually. I think to me it's a thing where small guards, 90% of small guards are based off their athleticism and quickness because let's say they have to survive. Mm-hmm. Chris Paul is very much not that kind of player.
Yeah. Well, yeah, since his meniscus injury, what was it, his fourth year in New Orleans? Because he missed like almost a whole season in New Orleans with a meniscus injury. Before that, Chris Paul was athletic. Like, he was one of the fastest point guards in the NBA. He dunked on Dwight Howard. Like, he was dunking on dudes, like blowing by dudes. And then when his meniscus injury happened, like, you could tell his speed was noticeably down.
Continue.
Or you could tell his speed was noticeably down, but he was still Chris Paul in a lot of ways. And so I think from that point on, he's kind of just learned to play like at his own pace. And it's incredible. And so, like you said, like he's used to not, jumping the highest or, being the fastest. He's methodical. He gets to his spots. He's a mid-range god. And he's still good to this point. He did dunk in the All-Star game this year, I think, which was wild. It was wild. It was him and Steph did back-to-back lobs.
Yeah, so the thing to me is where Chris Paul is most important to the Suns is that half-court offense. Like I said, when everything slows down, he's able to turn DeAndre Ayton into a force in the half-court. When you watch DeAndre Ayton in the half court with Chris Paul in that pick and roll, it's terrifying because he's able to utilize that athleticism. DeAndre Ayton can shoot a little bit, but he has DeAndre Ayton's body. He has like the supreme body control where he's slipping that pick and roll and getting to the basket and diving to the basket and picking up lobs and like all kinds. He's just a great all around finisher with his in the basket when he's running that pick and roll with Chris Paul, because Chris Paul's getting him the ball exactly where he needs to get it.
Yeah, and I just think there is like the little things in basketball, that are very translatable to pick up. It's the simple things like DeAndre Ayton's doing all the hard work. He gets the rebound. He finishes the defensive possession with a rebound, kicks it up to Chris Paul, and he's running the floor hard. And Chris Paul's like, play call be damned, I'm going to get 8 in the ball because he worked his ass off. And it's just simple things like that. The know-how to play winning basketball, like understanding your teammates, how they tick, and all that stuff. That's what Chris Paul brings. Do you want to know, speaking of the half-court offense, do you want to know the Suns' offensive rating in the half-court per cleaning the glass?
No. Give me the numbers.
So 6,000 possessions on the dot. 6,000 possessions. They have a 117 offensive rating in the half-court. That is the 80th percentile. So it goes back to what you're saying. When you have mid-range gods like Chris Paul and Devin Booker that can get whatever shot they want, it makes everything else so much easier. And the cool thing is, as the year has gone on, when it's like Booker is learning how to anchor lineups without Chris Paul on the court. And that's the true mark of a star. So Devin Booker has played over 1,300 possessions without Chris Paul on the court. And the Suns in the half court have a 122 offensive rating, which is pretty good. And that's why I'm so bullish on the Suns in the playoffs, unless they face the Lakers in the first round, because the Lakers front line is just going to decimate the Suns' thin front line. Anybody else, I am very confident if I'm a Suns fan going into my friend and avid listener, George, shout out George. He is a huge Suns fan. I texted him and I was like, he texted me, he was like, if the Suns face the Lakers in the first round, this is going to be a fucking nightmare. And I was like, yeah, I know. Like, I am not bullish on your guys' front line versus the Lakers. He's like, I know. That's the only team I'm freak. So even when the Lakers are falling apart, just know that your team is still feared.
Yeah.
But I love the Suns, man. I love what they've done all year. Great offense, great defense. It has all come together, and I'm happy for Suns fans.
Definitely. I think it's been a long time coming, and like, I love the Suns fan base is great. They're the opposite of Jazz fans, where I actually really enjoy Suns fans. We're like, even during the rivalry,
the peak of the rivalry.
You're always a great team to like go back and forth with, because there's a level of respect between the two fan bases.
Yeah.
And there's a level of respect there, and there's a level of
don't lie. There's also like that big brother thing with the Lakers. Like, yeah, we got a bunch of rings.
yeah. I mean, at the same time, it's just the sort of thing where it's like, yeah, okay, we respect what we're able to do. The battles were great. Like, some of my favorite memories are watching that Suns, that's I think 2007 Suns series where Kobe hits the game winner. Mm-hmm. Was one of my all-time favorite moments of all time.
Wait, was that the same series where Kobe refused to shoot and made it a point not to shoot in Game 7?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I had to bring that up.
But like, that whole game, that whole series was like such a
high octane series too.
Yeah, just one of my favorite memories of like watching basketball growing up.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like I have a special place in my heart for Suns fans, and like I'm glad that they have this.
I love Steve Nash, one of my favorite players.
I hope it's Lakers Suns in the Western Conference Finals, because that'd be so much fun to watch.
Yeah, and not the first round, because I want to see the Suns go. I do kind of want to see how the Suns fare in a semi-playoff run. I don't want to see them get eliminated in the first round. That'd be such a dud. That'd be such a like buzzkill, even though it would be compelling. I think Lakers Clippers, for all the chaos, would be really fun in the first round. It'd be a disaster for both teams. It'd be code red for the organizations. They're like, shit. We're both in the first round, but I can only hope. I'm just excited for I'm excited for the playoffs, man. Like, the regular season, it's been up and down. I'm not going to lie. There's been a lot of blowouts. I don't know if you've read any articles about, like, the insane amount of 20-point blowouts we've had this year and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just looking forward to see fans in seats. I'm looking forward to seeing games with real stakes. And I'm excited for the play-in tournament. And Adam Silver actually did something right for once and added a play-in tournament. Now people are actually seeing, how overrated as hell Adam Silver is as a commissioner now. But, welcome to the party. But he did do something right. And the play-in tournament has brought intrigue, We talked about it, I think, last week. We were talking about sardine cans for the last 2 episodes about the sardine can in terms of the race for the play-in, the race at the top.
The ladder here.
What's up?
We have a sardine can the entire thing is a sardine can.
Yeah. But mainly the play-in is like, okay, what's good? Like, if LeBron and Steph are playing each other in the play-in, like, the league isn't going to change shit after that. They're going to be like, oh, no, we're keeping this. I hope the league keeps it.
Yeah, so do I. I like it a lot. I think it just adds a ton. And again, I think the thing that Lakers fans and I think the thing, a lot of Lakers fans are freaking out because, to be honest, I think a lot of casual Laker fans just didn't give a shit about the play-in because they were like, we're not going to be in there anyway. Who cares? And then I think now that they're looking at it, they don't understand. Like, a lot of people were saying, well, I don't trust. Like, do you want to leave our fate into like a winner takes all one game thing? I was like, no, dude. Lakers only have to win one game. They get 2 chances to win one game.
Yep. Also,
it's very different.
It comes to a point where if you're the title favorite and you don't beat one of these bottom feeding teams in the play-in, then you don't deserve to go deep into the playoffs. Like, you lost. Like, because you lost to a bad team, and maybe you shouldn't have been maybe you shouldn't have been in the not in the playoffs, but you get what I'm saying. Like, if you want to win the championship, if you're a championship favorite, you beat down those teams anyway, so it really shouldn't even matter.
Yeah,
Again,
to me, all that matters is that AD and LeBron are 100%, and because if they're not 100%, then it doesn't matter. So
yeah,
like, to me, I'm at the point of acceptance in my depression where it's just like, look, whatever happens. If they're 100%, then great. If they're not, then not our year. It just didn't. The balls didn't bounce our way.
That's how I felt on Wednesday when I was resigned to the fact that Mac Jones might be a 49er. I was just sitting there on my couch, just with my head down, depressed, just like, shit. Might as well accept it.
So I did want to bring this up too. LaMelo Ball's back. Diamond up.
Yes.
If LaMelo obviously is gonna.
He threw an underhanded 94-foot pass
on a dime.
On a dime. Who does that?
LaMelo Ball.
Oh yeah, there you go.
if LaMelo comes back, obviously if he's back, so if he comes in and he wins, if he continues to play this way the last 8-9 games, I think he's obviously rookie of the year.
I think he's still rookie of the year, and I hate doing that because I think Tyrese Halliburton was making this a race again while LaMelo was out. But if LaMelo plays well these last 10 games, it has to be LaMelo. I can't sit here and say that, Joel Embiid should have been rookie of the year over fucking Malcolm Brogdon, even though Embiid played 30 games, and then reverse it and say, oh, LaMelo didn't play that many games or whatever. Like, LaMelo's been the best rookie this year. Like, that's what the award is. It's the best rookie. And Tyrese Halliburton did make it a race, I thought, legitimately for the first 30, 35 games of the season, or before LaMelo started, definitely. But LaMelo's the best rookie. And the like we were saying earlier, the Hornets got a good one. But now the stock of our pod's back up. LaMelo's back, so that means there's more LaMelo Ball talk. And I'm really interested to see where he is the next 2 years, because with his ceiling, remember, I'm not gonna compare LaMelo to this player because I know how shit can get clipped out of context and stuff like that. But by the time Chris Paul was in his 3rd year in the league, he was already recognized as the best point guard in the NBA. Although there was a year where I would argue Darren Williams, but, Chris Paul fans will definitely fire back at me for even saying that.
There's this discussion. I always took Chris Paul, but there was definitely a discussion. Darren Williams was
sick.
Yeah.
But I think LaMelo Ball in the next 2 years, he might burge his way into that conversation in the same way. There's a lot more point guards now. There's a lot of great point guards now, but LaMelo's skill set, and if he keeps shooting the 3 ball like this, like, how can you not say he won't be in the conversation in the next few years if you think he's going to get better?
Yep. So obviously, Lonzo just had his career.
I think you sort of said that a few episodes ago. Although you said it as a rookie, I wasn't willing to go that far, but I could see the trajectory.
I think there is also Lonzo hit his career high in points a couple days ago. So congrats to Lonzo. Yes. We'll be rebranding this podcast to the Ball Boy Banter.
Big baller banter.
Yeah, the Big Baller Banter, the Ball Boy brand, the BBB.
Definitely not wearing the shoes, though. I don't want to sprain my ankle or anything.
I have a hat, though. I do have a hat.
Oh, you have a hat? I did not know this.
What? I have a Big Baller brand hat. It's the Triple Bs, but they're Laker colors. They're yellow, purple, yellow.
Oh, so it's an antique hat now.
Yeah.
Hey, you might be able to sell that then. It might be worth something down the road.
It's a cool hat. I would wear that to Laker games with
your Zoe ones on. No,
no, I have a Lonzo jersey, so I was Hey man, I was all in on Lonzo.
I loved Lonzo at UCLA. I am hoping that he can put together a stretch for kind of like what he did last year, like a longer stretch where 1, he's not hurt, and 2, where he's shooting the hell out of the ball, because I still believe I think he's a ceiling raiser. Or we talked about this before. He's a ceiling raiser, kind of like Draymond in that sense, not a floor raiser, the guy you put a team around and expect to have a baseline level of wins. But I think he's there. That player is there, and I see it. Like, you see it for stretches.
Lonzo is clearly a second or third best player on a championship team.
That's his ceiling. I would agree with that. He can move the ball quickly. He can hit an open shot, or that's his ceiling at least.
I think he could be a borderline all-star guy and be a second or third best option on a championship team.
Yeah, he has to be put in the winning context though, and I'm glad he had his career high, because before these last couple of games he had been struggling again. So I was getting a little worried, but like we said, we're here at the Big Baller Brand Box Out Banter podcast.
And it's something that we talked about last week when we talked about confidence. Lonzo does this thing where you can tell in games where when Lonzo's on and when he starts hot and he hits his first couple, that he's gonna go off. He has such a confidence issue when he starts driving to the basket and he starts hitting threes. Like, he turns it on and you go, oh, okay, here's UCLA Lonzo.
Mm-hmm.
Where's this every night?
But speaking of full court pass, do you remember that game against the Pelicans and Blazers game a few weeks back where Lonzo also threw? Well, it was after the Pelicans choked another game away yet again. And after the Blazers made the game-winning free throws, Lonzo immediately grabbed the ball out of bounds and tossed it full court on a dime to Zion, who almost banked it in for the win. Like, there's just something about those Ball brothers, man, that are just so audacious with the passes they try, especially in transition in full court, that it's just like, damn.
It reminds me of Jason Williams.
Yeah.
Where Jason Williams would just try shit where you go, no one else even thinks about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And fucking elbow behind the back pass, stuff like that. I'm just waiting to see that from LaMelo next.
I don't know about you. Anyone around our age, and obviously the Ball brothers are younger than us, but we're still all around the same age group. Where Jason Williams formed the way that I think about passing in the NBA.
Yep.
In the same way that Magic did it for the older generation. Like, Jason Williams was that dude for me.
He was the guy that coaches that I had in whether it was rec as a kid or tryouts or the actual basketball teams in high school, where coaches are just like, yeah, you shouldn't try that. And then you're like, but why though? Like, Jason's doing it. Like, those Kings teams were awesome in the early 2000s. Like, and they were on TV quite a bit, especially if you lived in California. You could see them play the Lakers, and you can also, like, if you got lucky with your cable, you could see the Kings on, their channel, even if you lived outside of Sacramento. And then, of course, like Chris Webber, Jason Williams, even though Jason Williams got jettisoned later and brought in Mike Bibby, which made him a better team, but it also made them the Kings were still awesome, but Jason Williams just added that extra oomph and flair that, made kids like, oh, damn, this is fun.
Those Kings teams were fun because they could pass at every level. Because Chris Webber was a great passer.
Yep. Should be in the Hall of Fame, by the way.
Yeah. Vlade was a great passer.
Yep.
Peja, underrated passer. Like,
you saw the highlight, or I'm sure you've seen it, or Peja did that basically 75-foot behind the back pass to Bobby Jackson for the layup. Like, Peja was a underrated player, by the way. One of the underrated shooters and players, period.
As the spot-up 3 guy, and I was like, no, he's not. He's not the spot-up 3 guy.
No. They watched New Orleans Peja where his back was broken and, he withered away in Dallas. Like, they watched that Peja, not King's Peja.
No, King's Peja could move. He couldn't play defense at all, but he could, like, do everything on the offensive end. He could drive to the basket. He was hitting threes. He was hitting step backs before Paul Pierce claimed he created the step back.
Oh, God.
He was doing all kinds of stuff.
Paul Pierce apparently thinks he created weed too. No, I'm kidding. But he's doing a lot of marijuana-related posts because after he got fired from ESPN, he posted an Instagram video. He's like, stay tuned. And I was like, he's going to do something with marijuana. Watch. And what do you know? There's a bunch of Instagram stories of him walking in a fucking giant greenhouse.
Hey, man. When you know your wheelhouse.
Hey, you go for the wheelhouse, man. I agree.
Go for it.
I am not one to judge people who smoke the devil's lettuce.
But I will say that,
I say that sarcastically, devil's lettuce.
I will say, when you look at those Kings teams, they were a special team that just ran into Kobe Shaq.
And the refs in Game 6.
But they ran into Kobe Shaq and they ran into Duncan.
Yep.
I feel so bad because they should have a ring.
And 1 year Garnett too.
Yeah.
Because I think it was the Lakers Wolves was the Western Conference Finals that year.
They were already going downhill at that point. They were already kind of like
that was the last gasp, but Garnett just took it to Webber in that series too. But yeah, Chris Webber needs to be in the fucking Hall of Fame. Like, it's actually kind of ridiculous that he's not, especially when you consider it's the basketball Hall of Fame. Not the NBA Hall of Fame. Like, the Fab Five itself should be in the Hall of Fame.
The Fab Five should be in there just on their own.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, they'd have to agree to it, and I don't know if Jalen and Chris will agree to that. But
if we're talking about peaks, like Bill Walton had that 2-year peak, obviously not the same stratosphere. Chris Webber was one of the 5 best players in the league, like, for 3 years.
Yeah. I will say, though, that like when you look at Chris Webber and you look at everything he could do, he should have had a better career.
Yeah, I think injuries after he found his way with the Kings derailed him because by the time he got to Philly, he was not the same player. He averaged 20, I think, the first year he got traded to Philly, but he was not the same player. Did not have the same explosiveness or any of that made him special, or besides the skills that made him special, just he lost that pop, that athleticism that he used to take advantage of other opposing bigs. And man, if he had prime Chris Webber healthy with Allen Iverson, I would have been set. You know what? I was kind of robbed low-key of a better basketball viewing childhood because I got to watch Allen Iverson. He was incredible and stuff. But, you read stories from the past, like, the Sixers had a trade that would have sent, I think, 2 first-round picks and a player to the Raptors for a young T-Mac, but the Raptors got scared because they...
T-Mac, man.
What's up?
I feel so bad for T-Mac. T-Mac is in every story, every team.
What if.
Every what if. Because remember, he was almost traded. He was almost drafted to the Lakers,
Mm-hmm.
He was
almost
Tim
traded
Duncan
to the Sixers.
Tim Duncan almost went to go play with him in Orlando.
Yep. And he was like, okay, I'll go play with Grant Hill. Grant Hill only played like 3 games with him.
Yeah, because he got fucked up by his back injuries. Like, bruh, I feel so
it was
bad.
ankles for Grant Hill.
Oh yeah, his ankles. But I feel so bad for T-Mac.
Yeah,
because T-Mac gets the short end of the stick in all of these stories.
Well, here's an underrated what if. What about I'm pretty sure it was the 07 Rockets? No. The 09 Rockets. Remember that team that took the Lakers to 7 games with just Yao Ming?
Yeah, that's the Ron Artest one. That was the Ron Artest.
I thought that team was going to be really good.
Dude, they had Ray Ralston too.
Mm-hmm. They had a bunch of good players, and T-Mac had microfracture surgery, and he's been a part of a few what ifs, and it kind of sucks.
Was that the year that Chuck Hayes fucked up his teeth?
I'm pretty sure that was the year. That might have been the year Chuck Hayes fucked up his teeth.
Because, dude, that team was crazy. Because remember, they had their starting 5. They had Ray Ralston. I think they had a young Kyle Lowry on the bench.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They had T-Mac. They had Ron Artest, like prime defensive player of the year candidate Ron Artest.
I have it in front of me. So the 08-09 Rockets finished 53-29. Yep.
They had Mutombo on the bench too.
Mm-hmm. They had Ray Ralston, Brent Barry, Shane Battier, Aaron Brooks.
That's right.
Your boy Brian Cook. Chuck Hayes, Carl Landry, Kyle Lowry coming off the bench, T-Mac, Yao, Dikembe, Luis Scola, and Meta World. They were 10 deep, and I loved that team that year. And T-Mac and T-Mac only played 35 games that year, and that's when the injuries start. Like T-Mac was also one of my favorite players to watch growing up, so that just sucked to see him withered like that. But now I'm reading. When you read like the Raptors nixed that trade to the Sixers because they were afraid that Stephen A caught wind of it and reported it, it's like, damn it, Stephen A, you're just looking up at the sky. But T-Mac was incredible, man.
Yeah, one of my favorite players, and just one of my favorite people too. I got a chance to meet him a couple times, just say hi.
Oh,
and
really?
He's just a very nice guy, very very nice guy.
Yeah, he seems like a nice dude. I mean, come on, like that cool sleepy-eyed nature. Like he looks like a cool dude.
Yeah, he's you see him around in LA because he does stuff with his daughters. Yep.
Doesn't he coach their basketball team or something like that?
Yeah. So you see him around at like gyms and stuff like that. So he's just around. Very 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 nice guy. So
I can't wait till stuff opens back up so I can kind of get back out there to cover events and stuff like that. So I can talk to people and all that stuff and meet people, because like I was saying, I've said this before, but like last season I covered Kings games for the first time. It was my first time covering pro sporting events, at least, and just being in the locker, hearing chatter and talking to players and stuff like that. That stuff's like give me more of that. You know what I mean? Like it.
God.
Like
Vogel's doing pregame for the game tonight.
Oh yeah.
He said, "quote our team is a little shook right now."
Oh,
great.
That's exactly what you want to hear. You got Kuzma saying, "Hey, put a guy in the rotation." And you got Vogel saying, "We look shook right now." Did you see that comment that LeBron said he'll never be 100% again in his career?
Yeah. Okay. So that was something that I also wanted to talk about.
Okay.
I think, in my opinion, I think that's LeBron tempering expectation.
Yeah. Oh, because so you're going to Skip Baylesson route on this one.
Dude, like, look at have you watched some of the games that he's been back?
Yeah, the Kings games, and I watched both those games. Not so much the Raptors game was kind of on in the background while I was working, but the Kings game I definitely watched.
There's obviously he's not 100% yet, but he in stretches looks exactly the same.
Yeah,
his explosion is exactly the same as it was when he. Obviously, it's not young LeBron, but it's exactly what it was when he got hurt.
And I'm sure the ankle is sore and stuff like that, but he's moving the same and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I think he's just tempering expectations, and like maybe this is something that he deals with the rest of his career in terms of just pain or like, something nagging. But I don't think. I think he's just like, hey, don't expect me to do this for whatever. I think he's just a little gun-shy.
I do think there is something to, because high ankle sprains are usually something that don't heal until you're off your feet after the season. Because we've seen a lot of high ankle sprains us watching sports our entire life, and it's that involves like actual tendons in the upper part of in the upper part of your ankle but lower part of your leg, and that is a bitch to deal with. I never had a high ankle sprain. I've had some bad ankle sprains, but I never had a high ankle sprain, so I don't know exactly how that feels like. But just obviously you watch sports forever, you read up on injuries and all that stuff. High ankle sprains are nothing to mess with.
Yeah.
But yes, it did sound like LeBron was, putting on his LeBron hat and, masterminding and not masterminding, but definitely planting some seeds like LeBron always does.
Yeah.
You got anything? You got anything else you want to touch on? Any Laker related? We're almost to the end. You got any things you want to get off your chest about the Lakers anymore, or you need a bit more therapy, or are you good?
No, I think I'm good. Again, I think I've come to acceptance.
You're at the acceptance stage,
and I'm just at the point where I'm like, okay, I don't think pulling it together is the issue. I think it's just if LeBron and AD get healthy and we show the level of intensity, great. Otherwise, whatever, we'll go next. This season was going to be tough anyway, just given the season and given like the amount of time between the season. Mm-hmm. So, obviously the health was going to be our biggest concern this year. And I thought that, hey, if we can, with the added depth, just kind of keep everyone healthy, that's going to be the most important thing. Obviously it didn't happen. And that's kind of just how the ball rolls. And there's nothing we could have did from a team or like GM to just kind of beef up our lineup even more. I think that we're in the place that we're in the best situation we could have been given the injuries that we've had. So, take that as you will.
Before we go, right now the Pelicans-Warriors game is going on right now. The first game of the ESPN Marvel crossover, and Eric Bledsoe, the score is 58-33, and Eric Bledsoe is a -20. And I just saw a tweet that said, Giannis won MVP twice with Eric Bledsoe on his team. First ballot Hall of Famer.
Bro. Eric Bledsoe has not been good since he was on a bad Suns team.
Yeah, true. No, well, okay. Remember that first iteration of that Suns team where it was Isaiah Thomas, Bledsoe, and Dragic?
4 point guards?
Yeah, where they had like 10,000 point guards in the starting lineup.
It was him, Isaiah Thomas,
and Dragic.
Brandon Knight.
Oh, yeah, Brandon Knight.
And Dragic. Who are they guarding? And the thing was, they run them on the floor at the same time. Their average is like 6'2".
Yeah, that got Jeff Hornacek another job.
Oh my God! What are you doing? Do you think you're Nelly in the 90s?
They won 48 games that year. They were a good team, man. I liked watching that Suns team. I'm not gonna let you besmirch, my. I'm not gonna let you besmirch my Phoenix Suns like that. My 2013-14 Phoenix Suns.
Bro. Have you brought up that Brandon Knight, for some reason, always feels like he's 22?
Yeah, he's one of those. I don't think Brandon Knight was on that team, by the way. No, it was definitely Bledsoe, Thomas, and Dragic for sure.
Where Brandon Knight? Let me see. Brandon Knight.
This is how we end the BOB, guys. We're searching up Brandon Knight's basketball reference.
All right, here's the Sun. Here's the 2014-15 Suns.
Yeah, no, he was in Milwaukee that year. He got traded to the Suns the next year, the 14-15 season.
So here's 14-15 was Bledsoe, Knight, Okay, yeah. So they're all
at that point Thomas was gone.
Yeah, they cleared out the backlog at that point. Okay.
Yeah, because because remember that I think it was the 14 or 15 deadline, but that deadline was fucking wild. There was like 47 trades or some shit like that happened that day, and Thomas and Dragic were two of them that dipped. But yeah, I'm not gonna let you besmirch my 2013-14 Suns, Chris.
I will say I will put Brandon Knight on that list of NBA players that don't age. He's right up there with Rudy Gay and Thaddeus
Young. Thaddeus Young was immediately who came to mind.
Thaddeus Young and Rudy Gay are on that list for me.
Yep. Pretty soon it's going to be DeMar DeRozan because I still think he's 29 or 28.
Yeah, on that list for sure. Even D'Angelo Russell is getting to the point where he's no longer a young player.
Yeah, DeMar DeRozan's 31 years old. What the fuck?
Like, at what point do we stop calling D'Angelo Russell a young player?
As long as I need to for him to be a successful player, so people can get their takes right.
Oh man. Or like here, I'm looking through like lists of players now, just looking at like guys that I'm going, they've been in here forever. They've been young forever.
Yeah, they've been like, damn, you've been 27 for a minute now.
I felt that way about Zach LaVine. Like how long has Zach LaVine been 25?
That's the other thing too. Like some of these that's the whole other thing with the one and dones. Just like the age is definitely, it throws you off. It throws you for a loop for sure.
Yeah, dude. Like, look, Zach LaVine. I feel like I've heard Zach LaVine as a young prospect for like 6 years. And at what point does he stop being a young?
And he turned 26 in March.
But he turned 26 in March, but he's been in the league for 7 years.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at Andrew Wiggins too.
Oh my God, you're right.
Like, I think Zach LaVine. Yeah, Zach LaVine was 2014 also. Like, I think Andrew Wiggins is 26, 27. Yeah, he's 26. Man. Like
that 2014 draft was weird.
That 2014 draft is weird. I'm actually that might be one of my more controversial videos when I get to it. But I'm gonna do like a redraft. I have of the 2014 draft.
I'm embarrassed to say how on board the Andrew Wiggins train I was.
Yeah, I was too.
I was
an Embiid guy first and foremost. I will say that. And I because every time I watched Kansas, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like learning on the fly. Like like the rate that he was processing and picking things up and coming up with something new the next game was incredible. I mean, Embiid couldn't shoot or looked clunky his first few games. Like you could tell the talent was there, and then by like the middle of the season he's dream shaking people, and I'm like, oh my God, like just stay healthy. And unfortunately that's still what I'm saying right now.
Dude, it's crazy thing, but dude, like I've never seen someone in college that had the bounce that Wiggins had.
Remember Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin, I think, takes the cake for me.
To me, it was the bounce and the quickness and like just you could just see he was just oozing athleticism.
Yeah, you could see it. Yeah, no, I was high on Wiggins too. I was like, this guy could be a two-way player. Like,
we were so wrong. We were so wrong. I also felt that way about. This is more embarrassing. I felt that way about Michael Kidd-Gilchrist.
I loved MKG, dude. I loved MKG.
Michael Kidd-Gilchrist guy.
I was like, this dude plays his ass off. He could play multiple positions. I don't care that his elbow is in front of his face sideways when he shoots. I don't care. The shot will be fixed. And I thought Trey Burke was going to be an all-star.
So did I. I love Trey Burke.
I love Trey Burke at Michigan. I thought he was going to be an all-star for sure when the Jazz... I think he got drafted by the Jazz. Yeah, when the Jazz took him, I was like, they got their point guard of the future. But
weird one, and this is like a deep cut. I don't even know if you'll know this one. So when you watched that finals where the Michigan Louisville finals. Trey Burke got toasted, and the person that was toasting him was a guy named Peyton Siva.
Yeah, Peyton Siva. I was gonna say Peyton Hillis, but that's the Giants running back. But Peyton Siva
was gonna be a beast.
Peyton Siva, Russ Smith was on that team too.
I thought Peyton Siva was gonna be the beast, and now he played like 1 year NBA, but then he went to Europe.
I have to say I didn't have a Peyton Siva take. I thought he was too small. Like I guess I was like, oh, he's a good player, but on Louisville.
Like,
but
this guy, I was like, this guy's got the moves. He can shoot. He's got the swag to him. I like it. And
I thought Russ Smith had a better chance over Peyton. But
oh my goodness,
yeah. Yes. Bringing up old draft takes, I love it.
Dude, I was so in on Peyton Siva. You have no idea.
Peyton Siva.
Because I remember I was real high on Trey Burke.
Yep.
And then I remember watching that, like watching the tournament, and I was like, man, this Peyton Siva guy. And then I was just looking through like old Peyton Siva highlights, and I was like, man, this guy's a beast. I was like, I'm all in on this guy.
I do remember Peyton Siva. I did not think he was a draft prospect, unfortunately. That's why I'm like, when you said Peyton Siva, I was like, oh my God, that Louisville team. Wasn't that was the team that was when I have to look it up now, but that was the team where Kevin Ware, that was the same tournament run, right?
I think it was the year after that.
The year after that?
Yeah. But he was on that team. The guy that broke his leg, right?
Yeah, it was in 2013 is when it happened. When was Trey Burke drafted?
I think 2014. So it could be the year before.
Yeah, it was. No, it was the 2013 draft. That was the same run, the same tournament run. Because he broke his leg against Duke. I remember that. And that was the same tournament run.
Oh my goodness, yeah, here it was. Oh.
Wait, are you watching the video?
There's a gif of it.
Oh, okay. But yeah, Peyton Siva, man.
Oh my goodness.
Did not think we would be talking about him at the end of this podcast. But you never know here at the Box Out Banter podcast, a.k.a. the Big Baller Brand podcast.
Long Boy podcast? Long Boy podcast. All right, guys.
Sure.
We'll end it off there. And thank you all for watching and listening to us babble about random NBA prospects that no one cares about. And, we'll talk to you guys next week.
The B.O.B. Triple B.